Hello everyone. Today I'm going to present to you my end of year project called Earth of the Totem. So for the team, I was alone. I'm Rivet one. I was the lead developer and game designer for this project. So what is Earth of the Totem? Earth of the Totem is a tower defense game with higher features. Your goal in this game, like other tower defense game, is to defend your base against horde of enemies. I decided to choose to make this game, this project, because I love tower defense game in general. And since I specialize in IRVR, I think why not combine the two of them and see what will be the project, and the experience. So my idea was to scan your surrounding and choose a surface, plain surface horizontally, and click on it and make and put your terrain on it. So first, one second, please. Yes, I made it because I found it challenging first of all, and I think it will be a good way to see how the AR can push the boundaries of the traditional game. So I will show you a quick video to demonstrate. Hop. Hop. We have the sound. It is the hub of the game when you connect it. As you can see, we have one second. Hop. As you can see, we have 3 different buttons. Each of them is will go to different difficulties. And in the left here, we have the sound menu, when you can up or down your volume, your level. Hop. Hop. As you can hear. So, hop. So I will click on easy, and the game will start. As you can see, we start to scan the surrounding. Zone will appear. You click on it, and the UI of your shapes you want will appear. You choose your shape here. Actually, I have only one who works. Up. When you click on it, you can scale it up and down to choose your what you want. Up. When you validate, the start button appear, and you can click on it and it start. The first wave will be destroyed because I wanted to add a story in this game after, in the last part. So like a totem will spawn, and overflow of energy will kill the first wave. So when the first wave is killed, the UI shop will appear. As you can see, we have actually 2 towers, Arbalete and Tesla. We can choose either of them. Hop. Imagine you will click on Arbalete. You can choose where you want to be, where you want to put your tower. Hop. And the wave will start when you click your validate. Hop. Sorry for the quality of the video. And we will be continuing since the end. I will just advance to show you the Tesla tower. The Tesla tower has a mechanic who frees the enemy when he hits. It has a high attack speed and frees the enemy. Hop. So I will advance since the end to show you the win panel. As you can see, we have a lot of enemy and tower in the end. Hop. Hop. When you win, you can either retry or go to the home to choose another difficulty. Hop. So, to show you how it works, I choose a code snippet of the on button click to when you click on tower, for example, on the button on the UI shop. it will call the method start placement in the Toyer placement manager, what takes two arguments, Toyer prefab and the cost of it. We check in the beginning if we have enough gold to spawn it. If we doesn't, we return. And we check if we have another preview of Toyer. Because, for example, we don't want to have two Toyer preview Toyer, because I don't want to have a Tesla Toyer and choose after Arbalete and have the Tesla Toyer. I just want to have one preview at one time. And we initialize some variable. We found the terrain was the type, and we instantiate the terrain in children of we instantiate the Toyer in children of the terrain, and we scale it via its parent, and we made the parent material to show you the Toyer where it is, and we validate. We activate the we activate the validate button. So for the timeline, it was quite hard to handle in the beginning, but I succeed. And in the first week, I made the research for the paint detector. I set up the air features on the project. In the second week, I made the paint detector after the research, and I made the place game terrain. And in the third week, I search how to make a wave management, and I made the totem spawn in the center of your shapes. And in the first week, I have made the wave implementation, and I have made the enemies. And in the fifth week, I have made the UI implementation and the shop implementation. And the 6 weeks, I have made this presentation. So, for the technology I used, it was C# was Unity, and I enabled AR features in my project was AR Core, and I use VS Core as IDE. And for the versioning, I use GitHub and Git to have some backup on my project. And for the organization, I use Trello to organize myself. So, the success from my project, or for me, system of spawning waves, because I found it quite modular. Because imagine I want to have in the first wave 5 types of enemies, and each enemies I want to have a number of it spawning. I can choose the delay of spawning of each enemy. For example, if I want enemy 1 to spawn 5 enemy 1 and have a delay to spawn is 0.5, I can, and the enemy type of the same wave, I want to have 3 of them, enemy 2, 3 of them, and have a delay spawn of 3 seconds, I can too. So, the second success was the scalability of the spawn square on paint detection, because I found it worked pretty well. And some failure on this project was I tried to do the other shapes, but I found it wrong of the way of doing. But I have the solution. The solution was to make the 3D model on Blender and import it on Unity. And sometimes the random scale, when you scale too big or too small, that can impact some features. For the correction, I will add a restriction on that. And the last one was the system of choosing spawn points. It is not a failure completely, but when I test it on the XR development environment in Unity, it worked pretty well. The spawn in the edge of the shapes, but when I test it on Android device, it spawned on the terrain, but quite randomly, and I don't want that. So I think of the success and failure at the same time. So for the improvement, I had the choosing spawn point. because, like I said earlier, I found quite success and failure, so I will improve it. And a better visual to match the dia, because as you can see, I have a medieval dia, but I want to have a more magical dia, with totem and magic, and maybe a more dynamic shop, because actually I have only 2 towers, and if I want to add another tower, I think about some section of the shop and add some animation on the shop. So, and the future of the project will be, I will add upgrade system tower, a new mode Infinity Wave, and more shapes with the solution I have found. So, have you any question?
Thank you for your presentation. I would like to know a bit more about the game itself. On the video, we can see that the enemies are moving like step by step. You know, it's like
Because it was the Tesla Tower effect. I have
okay.
maybe I have a bit overpower this tower for.
Before the Tesla Tower was deployed, the enemies were moving smoothly.
Yeah, I will show up.
Yeah, for example, here you only have the arbalète.
Ouais, c'est dit une faute. No.
Okay, and then it moves smoothly. Okay, I was thinking it was the part of the gameplay to have this kind of step by step, so you can see what happens in real time. But okay,
No, it was the Tesla Tower, but I didn't make any effect because I didn't found what I want to make the effect of the Tesla Tower.
Okay. Regarding the detection of the plane,
Yes.
It is some functionality that is inside of Unity, or you have to make it yourself somehow?
It's inside the AR core. It gives you some component, airplane management, where it scans your surrounding, and I have just coded when I click on any surfaces who is detected, it will disable the other shape, it will disable the other detection plane, and you only this detected can be put your terrain on it and scale it down.
Okay, so my question is also about if you can show again the beginning of the video. At some point you have to choose between square to come next.
Coming soon.
Coming soon, yes.
It was.
Perfectly this one. So we can see the detection is quite accurate, but not perfect.
Not.
How can you improve this one? I mean, how does the software select this shape where you have not chosen any of this? You didn't click on carry or validate or
Because
automatic.
as you can see, it detected some other shapes, and when I click on it, the UI, this UI appears.
You made a click at some point?
I click it, yeah, and the UI appears. You don't see the.
Okay,
and
then it tries to improve maybe the selection.
When you try the game, you just need to click, and every UI will appear when it has to appear.
Okay.
Any question? Other?
Maybe just one question. First of all, thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
And your work. I just want to know why working alone. Is it your choice or?
Yes, it was my choice because I'm a loner wolf. I prefer to work alone on my project because it will show my skill to the industry when I will make the project on my CV. I will tell I have made this alone, and it's quite representative of my work in general. So I decided to make it alone.
And at the end of the project, don't you think that working with another student as a team could avoid maybe some issues that you have to face?
I think maybe. I think yes, for sure. But I didn't want because, like I said earlier, I wanted to do alone for the end of year project. But yes, I was working with other. It can help me, and some problem I have maybe will be smoother. Ouais, sûr.
Or being quicker.
Oui, yes.
Okay, great. That's some kind of challenge for you.
Yes.
Good understanding. Okay, thank you.
Other questions? Sure.
Thank you.
It's over.
No, if you want to add more question, you can.
If we still have time for one or two, I would like to know, you showed us which technology you use, but what about what you've learned from this project?
I learned how to handle scriptable object on UEC because in the cursus I didn't have any of that, so I learned about that. I learned how to handle UE correctly because it was a quite a change. And for the rest of, I don't think, I learned how to handle the AR plane detector, like I said, how to create, how I can say that, classes will store some data like my wave management, who I have two classes who work on it to work my wave management. And I have found quite challenging about that.
Okay. And the last one for myself is, what do you think having tower defense in augmented reality adds to the tower defense games in general?
It adds where I can see we can. I like the idea to zoom in real time.
Mm-hmm.
As you can see in the video, I zoomed in the beginning, and I think that that made an approach of the video game more work with myself. I don't know how to say that, but it has a better I can say a better it involves yourself better in the game because when you play in the tower defense game, you are in the chair and you click on it and you didn't. But here you can just move and see what's happened in the front and the back.
We can imagine having a whole battlefield
Yes,
in the
yes.
room and having to
Move.
to move all around and manage everywhere. So thank you very much. That's
You're
it for
welcome.
me.
Thank you.
So hello everyone. Today I'm going to present my machine learning specialization project. It's called TrueName 2.0 because it's the kind of a rewrite and an upgrade coming from my previous project of the first year. So what is TrueName? The idea behind TrueName was a desktop tool for scanning and analyzing documents. At the start it was only PDFs and aimed at mostly text files. And now it's good for PDFs and image files. And the goal is to generate good, useful file names, opposed to usually PDF file names who are not very useful. So it's a desktop app for Windows. The main requirements are Windows 10 or 11 and Python, which runs on a lot of machines. It's mainly aimed at both users and businesses. Anyone who deals with a huge problem with organizing documents. And the main characteristics I'm looking for is to be simple, stay all the models, AI models in local, and secure. And the big idea is should run on at least decent computers, but not huge machines. So the team is going to be pretty short because it's only me. Full stack, obviously, I'm working on the very basic graphical interface. For this year, it's mostly the backend that's interesting, the architecture and the testing. So I'm going to skip to the demo. Okay, so I'm going to show you the basic example of how I would use my app, mostly. So I've got an Add Files button. This opens the default Windows interface to add files. I prepared a few examples, but obviously I can get files on anywhere. I tested it with 3 different directories, and it's not an issue. I'm also not going to run the app on a very large number of files because it will take too long. And we don't have time. So what happens here in the background is the text is extracted from the PDFs and the raw data is extracted from the images. And it's run to the respective AI models. So there's an image to text model and a text to text model, 2 transformers. And what it does is generates somewhat short but useful file names, at least more useful than the original file names that I'll show you. So I didn't change these. These are the original names. Files I took from my computer and someone else's. As you can see, generates file names. The other features I added from the first version of the app are still here, so you can select all the files, and if you would like to think about it, you can just rename it, so it renames them. I'll show you in a minute. There you go. And if you don't like what you see, maybe oh yeah, I should have mentioned that. I have a visual bug that I fixed in a recent version. I didn't want to risk breaking everything today, so it's not very visible whose files are selected and who's not, which are renamed. But you can select everything in revert, rename, should be highlighted in orange. And that is pretty much it. Still the basics of being able to edit the text of the file names, make your own edits. So that one, I'll show you quick examples. This one is, well, that one's a meme, but that's a meme I use for the blog post. In machine learning, we have to write a blog post. So, and this is a PDF. This is a machine learning PDF I downloaded yesterday. Thought I'd make a good example. So that's pretty much it for the demo. So the technology used, obviously the idea is Visual Studio Code. I could have used something else, but that's what I use usually. The backend is, I'd say, the most interesting part. So Python and a bunch of libraries, mostly for the PDFs. The most interesting thing is PyPDF. It's a pretty fast library for text extraction from PDFs. That's why I picked this one. The Transformers library is pretty well-known library for open source models. And PyTorch. PyTorch is mostly used to run the models locally on the computer. Organization and versioning, so Git, GitHub, and Trello and Todoist for me for tracking the tasks and organizing the timelines. Research, Perplexity, ChatGPT, Google, and the front end is a mix of. It's very basic. It's a mix of PyQt and a brand of CSS used by Qt that's called QSS. So the architecture, not much has changed in the main section in the interface, not visibly at least. What changes most is here. So obviously, since I have different types of files, I have different preprocessing rules for if it's text or in images. And I have to process the output so it doesn't generate things that are not appropriate for file names. Especially since Windows is pretty restrictive for that. A quick code snippet example. That one is slightly has changed a little since then, especially since I needed to run on this computer because I had an issue I had to fix. But what happens here, and mostly I used PyTorch to detect if I could run the model locally and if the GPU of the computer is detected. I import the models from online, so the tokenizers and the models, and I put them on the right device. The models I use is Flan and Blip. So Blip is an image to text model. What that means is a transformer that takes a raw image and outputs a text, and Flan is an instruction model, so it takes text as input and it's trained to obey a variety of instructions. The timeline, so it was pretty short. First week was research and mostly reading a lot of code and documentation. I didn't have a lot of time on week one, so it was it mostly started on week two. Week two was running experiments with models, trying out different models locally, which was more of a challenge. Week three was implementing it, adding to the original app and rewriting a bunch of code, making sure things work when you install CUDA, which I use to run the models on your computer. And week four was making sure the app compilation and making it an executable file worked, and testing on a variety of PCs, including this one. And fixing bugs, which obviously I haven't finished yet. The challenges. So I think the main technical challenge is at Alberton when we work on the specialization, we study transformers. It's at the end of the curriculum. But we don't actually, it's mostly theoretical. So the big issue was finding the right models because we don't really experiment with recent models. The performance constraints for local models, so obviously the goal was running it locally. It's not ChatGPT, you have a huge data center behind to run your model. And finding the right data sets for the task. What I aimed to do at the start was fine-tuning existing models on the specific tasks of file names, generating good file names, except that's a pretty rare thing actually for datasets. Usually datasets are aimed at summarizing large text, creating a small summary from very large text, and that's not exactly what I'm trying to do. It's close, but not close enough. Technical and non-technical. So non-technical, I had pretty little time. Most of the code has been written in the last 3 weeks. Difficulties to get started, as I've said before. I was not familiar enough with the real models, I think. It's not nearly as technical as it is simply knowing what's available on the internet. And the solutions, so I ran a lot of experiments and I had a timeline coming in, so I focused on delivering an MVP and an app that can be demonstrated, I can do a demo with, and keeping track and notes on Obsidian and Trello and everything of the models I tested and what worked, what didn't. So now the features. The main thing I wanted to do when working on this project is fine-tuning, and I didn't have time to finish it. I've run a few tests, but it's not enough, and as I was saying, I was mostly stuck on the dataset aspect of the problem. I'd like to integrate OCR. It's optical character recognition, I think. Not sure. But the goal was, for some images, the big issue is you can actually detect a photograph of a person smiling on the beach or something. It's actually pretty easy, it works well. But when you have a scan of a document, or when you have not enough context on the image except maybe a street sign or something, you'd like to extract the name of the city that's written on the street sign. You would like to, if you have identity papers, you would like to extract the full name of the person. And I think that would be a very big help to integrate that into the final file name of the image. UX improvements, obviously I'm not a front person, so there's a lot to be done here. Mostly another thing is integrating things into the OS, so these two are closely related. Making sure I have the option to drag in files into the interface directly, making sure I can just right-click a PDF or an image and rename it immediately without going maybe into the app, or maybe select a bunch of PDFs, right-click and run a name generation. I've been working on these. Unfortunately, it's not presentable yet, so it's still work in progress. And that's it. And any questions?
Thank you for your presentation and for your work. I will have a few questions, if I can. The first one is about the two transformers that you show us. You used pre-trained models. Were these models trained to do this task of renaming files, or how did you use them to fit your purpose?
That was the question when I was trying to, because I didn't know exactly if there was I thought there would be datasets exactly for this task. Turns out there aren't really. The main thing I've mentioned is usually it's a big part of these kinds of models that are instruction models. Instruction models are usually trained on a variety of instructions, but a big one of them, that means a large part of the dataset they are trained on is summarization. And building a file name is pretty much summarizing, especially for the PDF.
Okay.
It's pretty much summarization. But they don't exactly do that, and have a tendency to build complete sentences and structured way to sum it up. And the issue with that is with the file name, you don't need that. You need words. You need man smiling on beach, not there is a man that's smiling on the beach. He's wearing blue shorts, I don't know. And the big issue with that is most of the datasets work the same, and they have a lot to do with summarization. There are other tasks that are data extraction. So you ask a question specific to the corpus the text has been given, and he's supposed to extract, I don't know, maybe it's a book, and there's the date of birth somewhere of one of the characters. And I tried using this, but it doesn't work as well. Mostly summarization, I think, is the most efficient. But if I was fine-tuning, if I had a data set with a large text and an actual PDF, maybe a science paper, an invoice, resume. I've tested on resumes, it works pretty well. Can talk about why after that.
Okay.
But yeah, I was mainly stuck at that. So I used models that are good at summarization, but still do well with a variety of instructions.
Okay. And then what I would like to ask is, I'm not sure if you've talked about any KPI or metrics or some way to evaluate how good the description are, and if it's not done yet, how would you do that? And in general, with the literature, how do the models, how are they evaluated on the prompts they give as an output compared to what we would expect to receive? For example, the image with the Pokemons, how can we evaluate that automatically, that the name we have, which is Pokemon standing on the floor,
Suits the image, yeah. So I'm supposed to know that like exactly. I'm not completely sure, but there are two ways for text. There are scores. I think it's I don't know which it is between the bleu and literally the word reads bleu and rouge. It's une abréviation. And these two are used to. One is used for translation, and the other one is used for summarization. The one's got an R, so it's probably rouge. But basically what it does is it takes, and there are models that do this, that go a step beyond and do this. They are like transformers, but basically what they do, they encode and decode, and they are trained only on summarization. So what they do is, I haven't tested them because I didn't have a big data set to measure performance. But obviously when I run fine-tuning, I will need to use this. I've made a list already, but so the big idea is you have a model that's gonna, especially for images, that's gonna take the input and take whatever you generate, and it's like doing the exact opposite of what you're doing. It's gonna take text and try to look for features into the image that correspond to the text.
Okay.
And this can be used. There are also purely mathematical ways to run that for text. But they are a little different.
Yeah, I would imagine some kind of distance metric. For example, still on the Pokemon, I think you have to label each image with what would be the perfect answer you are waiting for. For example, for this image, maybe 5 squirrels on the floor is more accurate than a line of Pokemon.
Well,
and then you have some metrics that you compare a line of Pokemon with five squirrels on the floor, and you can maybe compute something like this.
I think I can give you a pretty simple example actually. It's weird how translation, because these models are that kind of model is obviously amazing at translating text. It's like encoding in one language and decoding in another. And what they do, I think, is just measure, so purely math, and I don't know the words exactly, but measure the encoding of each word, which are encoded in vectors, and they measure literally the angle between the two vectors. So I think for an image, I think it's going to be doable also. It's probably not exactly the same way to do things, but it's probably how they work, yes.
Yeah, anyway, at some points, everything is in some mathematical vectors, and you compare the vectors.
And they just check the dimension. Obviously, the models I'm using it's not a multi-model model, but that sounds weird. Multi-model model, but GPT-01, I think, was the big multimodal model. What it means is you can feed both types of input, both at once actually. And if there's a way to do that, there's definitely a way to take an image and input and check that the generated file name is high quality.
But you haven't found your database of the pre-trained model is less bigger than ChatGPT database. And your vector is small, and when you fine-tune a model, you give him question and the answers that you would like him to tell you.
Yes, although...
So you label the question, like he asked about the photo, or you label it.
Well, that's how it works usually, especially with instruction models. So the instruction model I'm using is Flantify. I think I mentioned that at some point, right there. And Flantify was trained on a dataset that is labeled by each instruction type of expression is trying to run. So yes, and for the image, I would need to label the image, but I would need to group the images by type, maybe. I don't know if that's the question or...
No, okay. And you spoke about an OCR. Which kind would you use?
That's a good question. Actually, there's a model that I haven't tested because it's a little too big. And the goal, again, was to run it on at least a decent computer. But there's a model by Microsoft, I think. It's a little old, so that's one of the main reasons it should fit on this computer. But it actually does what the model I use for images does, a blip. It uses a mix of that and OCR. I don't know the specifics, how exactly it works. But the idea with the OCR is I probably won't do that. I will use a separate model. And if I had to do it right now and throw it together and make it work in like 3 days, what I would do is take an OCR model that's very good at just recognizing characters and creating text. They are usually pretty good at that. I haven't tested them.
You could use Tesseract?
For example, yes. If there's a version that's small enough to run on the...
Yeah.
It's mostly a question of is it small enough to run on this, or is it just a little too big, but it can run with some models. What you can do is run it in smaller, it's called quantization, smaller size, basically encoding, and so it actually fits. That's like folding the model in half, and so it can run on the computer. So yes, I would take an OCR model, run it on the image. If whatever comes out of the OCR model is actually text, because maybe it just doesn't recognize text. On most images, there's not going to be a lot of text inside, so it's not worth it. But if I manage to extract some text, I use that and a longer caption of the image, mix it together and summarize it with maybe even with the FLAN model, maybe with the text model, and generate something that includes the image and the text in the image. That would be the quick and dirty way to do it, I think.
Last one, do you think you could use your tool to do research? The folder, not renaming file, but you search for a word like car, and it find folder file who contain content about car.
Well, that could be done. I'm not sure it would require AI to do it. It's just if you're looking for a specific word or theme, maybe a theme, so a subject, not exactly word. I don't know that's the question or not. But if you're looking for a specific phrase or word or anything like that, you don't need AI. It's going to be much faster to just do it with an algorithm that's just...
No, you search for car. It can be a bill, picture, like Volkswagen.
Car, okay.
Like,
yes, absolutely.
Like all of these things.
But that would be closer to something else we've done in specialization. We've worked with YOLO. It's a model for classifying, detecting objects in images, pretty much. If you program a large amount of classes there, I guess it works. Another way to do this is with, I'm not sure, it would work with a transformer, but I would think it would be a bit too big, and it's like trying to kill a mosquito with a bazooka, you know, it's too much, I think. But with a classification model for images, yeah, maybe. I think it's doable.
Okay, thank you.
I would like to ask, I think on the demo or something, you had more file in the left column.
Yes, I thought I explained that, but maybe I didn't.
I think I skipped this, so...
the thing is, this computer, I had to run a little trick, I guess, at last minute because it didn't run. But basically what happens is if I add too many files, it's going to take longer, and the demo was supposed to run like a minute or so, so I calculated it would be a little over a minute. It would be a minute and like 30 seconds, so yeah. I'd like to add, on this computer it can take maybe 30 seconds for 10 files. On my computer home, that's a more gaming PC, affordable but a gaming PC, it's half a second per file, so it's much, much, much faster, and I haven't optimized any of it on this, so it could be faster, definitely, on that one. But yeah, obviously I can select I'll show you, maybe not run generation, because that's going to take a while, but I can select all the files. I can just do this and trigger generation for everything, but it takes a while.
afternoon, everyone. So my name is Jeremy, and today I'm gonna present to you my IKEA Place clone project for my last project of the specialty. So the team member is only me. So I'm the lead developer responsible for the AR design, the design and the programming, the login interface, the scroll interface, AR functionalities, everything related to the design, the front and the back programming, everything. What are the tools that I use? The technologies are Unity. So in Unity, I code in C#. I used mainly the AR core technology, which is compatible with AR Foundation. It's an extension of Unity. And I use Unity mainly for the front. I use PlayFab for the login, logout, and register buttons. And for the organization and everything related to saving my project, it's GitHub or sometimes a USB device to save what I've already done, to have backups. The architecture is quite simple. From the login screen, you have 3 buttons: register, login, password recovery. And from that login button, you can access the shopping screen. Then you can see 3 other buttons: logout, AR, cards. The card is not implemented yet, but it's a feature for the future. The AR button is what will activate the screen for AR interaction and visualizing the furniture in our space, in our environment. For the register button, you go to the register screen. For the password recovery screen, etc. Here's a little bit of code snippet that I have. It's about the login and register code. This code is about. This code will compare what is in my PlayFab database with the player input and check if the user actually exists in that database for the login part. For the register user, it will actually get the user input and register it and create another data in the PlayFab database. For my organization, the first week I created the login system. The second week it was the shopping interface, and the third week was the most difficult. I'll get back on that later. It was about the AR functionalities and the testing of those functionalities. And for the week 5, it was the presentation that you can actually now see. So the project is about replicate the functionality of IKEA Place. It was heavily inspired by that. But what I wanted to do was to add a way to buy those furniture as well as envisionalizing it. What I wanted to do was to answer a problem that some people have, which is sometimes you can buy a furniture and do not know exactly how it will fit in your home. Maybe it's too big, maybe it's too small, or maybe it's just not the right color. And this is the kind of problem I wanted to answer with some personal experience that happened to someone I'm close to and who had to use the Sims 4 to visualize how they would actually place their furniture in a practical manner. And I thought this way of doing things might be a little more practical than a video game. Now I come back on the problem I was mentioning earlier about week 3. It's about the challenges for the difficulties I encountered during the creation of that project. I had a lot of problem with the documentation because most of it might be difficult to follow, difficult to find, and the biggest difficulty I had was that my phone wasn't compatible with AR core, which is the core, excuse me for the expression, of every AR technology. I had difficulties with some other settings in Unity which weren't actually, which didn't figure in the documentation, in any documentation. So this was a problem that I had to look and solve on my own. Design difficulties, the difficulties with the design is that it's time consuming, and you have to be careful about how it displays on different devices and how it fits on screen. The compilation is really slow, especially for Android. Unlike for PC, it goes smoothly, but for Android, it's quite slow. So I had to recompile a lot of time, trials and errors and everything. And now I'm going to try to present to you the application. Now you can see the login system. Now you can see the login system. I have already created a fake email for security purposes and a fake password, just to go fast and not bore you. You can see the shopping interface. You have the add cart button, you have the logout, you have a small description of the project. I'm sorry, I think it's too small to be read. You have the price and a little pictures of what you can see, of what you can buy. And now I am trying to show you the AR functionalities. Okay, now the floor is detected, and now all I have to do is tap, and you can see that there is a table. If I tap again, another table can appear, so I can place multiple tables. And I can move the table in the environment, make it turn around, and as you can see, it tracks the position of the table, so we can still keep observing it on every angle. Now that's it for the presentation. Okay, so now I need a presentation. Now, future improvement. I believe what I want. The first thing I want to do is to move on to a better technology than air foundation, or because I think the fraud detection isn't that great. Bug tracking and multiple feedback. I want to test it on multiple devices, not just on this. Now you can see this is a specific mark. I want to try on other devices, on other phones. I want to improve the scene, the UI, and potentially add a database implementation for the merchandise, so that we can keep track, and the stores can keep track of everything that has been bought, of what is added to the application. If I want to add a table, if I want to, so this is why I want a database to solidify, I must say, the application, and the implementation of the cart and the payment features. What I've learned during that experiment, it was the usage of AR technology. It was quite difficult for me because I told you I had difficulties with the phone, which made me lose a lot of time, and that actually took away a lot of things that I wanted to implement in this application. Now I also learned about how to build on Android, improved my experience with Unity, learn more about softwares similar to Unity. This is one of my next objectives. It gave me the motivation to actually want to learn more about other software similar to Unity, for example, Unreal Engine, or potentially Godot, and so on. And for the last thing that I've learned, it was persistence, because honestly, I was this close to give up, because I couldn't actually make it work on my old phone, and I had to buy another phone. And even when I tried with this phone, when I tried with this phone, I had a black screen. We were 2 weeks ago from today, and it was still not working. So yeah, this is how resilient I was during that project. So now, thank you for your attention, and if you have any questions, thank you for listening.
Thank you for your presentation. Thank you not giving up. You're here and you achieved that, so I want you to congrats.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Maybe I will ask you the same question as the previous student.
Johan?
Yeah. Why working alone?
Why am I working alone? Because we were only two on the campus on specialization, and
You don't like you?
no, that's not the problem. That's not the problem. It's just that I didn't want to force my ideas on Johan, and I wanted to leave him free of doing whatever he wanted.
Mm-hmm.
And I already had an idea of my own.
Okay.
And I didn't want to force my idea on him. And I wanted to try on my own to do something different, not a game. Not really a game.
I understand. And why do you have this idea to place furniture in the space? What games?
Mainly it was that's it's personal. It was about when my sister was moving in, and she had difficulties to actually visualize. And as I told you, she had to use The Sims 4 to see how it would render. And I was like, but this is absurd. Something more efficient should be done more than using a video game, even if in the end it was quite efficient. But I thought that a better solution could be done.
Okay. Thanks to you, we can know that not giving up is very important. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
I think you're very happy now.
Thank you.
You can be proud. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I have a question. You spoke about Sims, the game. Why didn't you do the same UI and UX of Sims or simulation game? And you see your flat, and you can move, and you have a list of all objects, and you can drag them directly from the screen, and not actually you click on a button on the list, and this allow you to see in there. You could do both.
An entire room?
You could in your when you scan your room, you could have the list of items directly and drag them in your room, and not you don't need to have to screen to do this. I don't know if I am.
Yes, I think it's about detection. I think it's detecting the object in the room and scanning.
No, currently, you need to click on the button on the object list.
Yes.
Choose the timer. It opens your camera, and you can drag. You can put him in your room. You can't do both things in the same screen. You have your camera open, and you choose directly items.
The list in the AR scene directly, because I wanted to have also, I didn't want the application to be full AR. I wanted the user to have an interface where they could scroll and make the choice to have the AR vision or not. Or not fully in AR all the time, and so that they can buy, or if they don't want to buy, they quit. To give a little more freedom to the user, and avoid being full AR. And potentially, it would be a little more exhausting for the device. Actually, I think not being full AR every time.
Okay, thank you.
I will have a few remarks and questions. First thing for the presentation, it was very impressive to see it working in real time. It reminds me of one of my fellow PhD students 10 years ago who was working on this kind of project, but he was doing diminished reality, which consists in withdrawing a furniture in a room to see how it would like without it, and then add new ones instead. So you've done in 1 month what he has been working on for years, and it's very impressive. You don't have the diminished reality, sure, but you have the augmented part, so really impressive to see it done by just one person. And I will have some question about the test, the KPI, some indicators. How do you measure that it works, that it's realistic? Which metric would you implement to?
The matrix is actually implemented in Unity, and if I remember correctly, honestly, for now, this is actually a difficult subject because it really depends of the models, on the modelization and the software used for that. So I didn't have a full mastery of the size, the metrics of the object.
No, sorry. By metrics, I was not thinking about the size of the object. Metrics is more like how you would say when you show your results. How can you convince us that it's working better than another solution? For example, how do you compare your results with other results? Why is it working?
So what I was actually, why is it working? When I compare, what I was relying on, why people should choose this one, rather than another one, was more about the e-shop aspect of the application.
Okay.
And this was what was supposed to make the difference. But as I had a lot of technical difficulties with the AR, I never got the time to actually work on the very part that was supposed to be that was supposed to make the difference, what I would call the spice. So the part was about adding the cart. The cart and all the shopping options. And this was supposed to be why people would actually rather try this one rather than another one.
Okay. Did you have some tests?
I made some tests, but only on my own device, and that was what I actually told in my presentation. That it was supposed to be in my new, in my future improvement and my features for the future. Make a lot of testing, improvement, and more important, feedbacks from people.
Okay.
How do they feel using it?
What do your tests would look like if you had time to implement them?
What my test would look like? My test would be about things that it runs perfectly on the device, but also on multiple devices, on the most device possible. For example, now I remember that there are I don't know how to actually. I don't know how to pronounce it. It's the brand of some phones. Maybe why not target those one? Now what I have here is a Samsung, which is a different technology. Why not target something else? Why not target Nokia? Why not target other device? So my test would be to test them and see if how they respond on those different devices. To see also if the detection works correctly, everything that would work on it, and the test that I would also try would be to solicit someone, to ask someone to try the application and see and tell me how it feels. Is it correct, or do you find it intuitive? Do you find it difficult to use? Do you find how the color? Do you find them aggressive? Do you find them out of place? Are the buttons too small, too big?
Yeah. In this kind of application, you better have to have some qualitative results, because quantitative results are really hard to implement. How would you compare your image with what you would have in the reality if the furniture was here? It was my question was about that. How would you measure how much realism you have between what your application renders and what it would like if you have the furniture in real life here? How would you compare that Thank you. That's it for me.